All right. Happy Friday, everyone. Justin Frandson here, live with you on Human Garage. You guys, we are live. Yes, EMF talk. Here we go. Let's turn and burn it. Get everyone up and running, you guys. I love seeing the numbers. Our community is growing quick, and I love it because everything works when you do it the right way. When you're connected to nature and grounded by nature, you're able to heal and recharge. It's so simple. Guys, Justin Frandson here. I'm your athleticism performance coach, founder of athleticism.com and emfrocks.com. Brand ambassador for Human Garage. Let's go. We love it. We love it. One of my all-time favorite systems for healing, self-healing, actually the number one system in the last 30 years of me working with amateur and professional athletes that I have ever seen. How do I say that? Well, because I have a lot of in the trench experience with athletes, and I continue to. Collegiate, pros, weekend warriors, you name it. That's what I see day to day. And then more importantly, we're able to get our products out through doctor clinics all around the country. So I'm able to, my network is through doctors, a lot of chiropractors, and so many more practitioners in every modality that are learning about what we do, and then I get to learn from them and have them share what they do. But today we're going to talk about a healthy home, making your home a healthy home. Really simple, but it's one of the missed elements, because if your home's not healthy, how are you going to be healthy? And that's probably why during COVID, our sales went through the roof, because everyone was stuck in their home and they're going there, I feel like crap in their own home. So why is that? And it was because they're living in these electrical boxes. We call them homes, but they're full of electricity, and they're full of dirty electricity, and they're full of wireless signals. And then we put these things, these routers essentially that are in our phones and our computers, on our laps and on our wrists, and then the wireless Bluetooth, the ear pods, the buds in your ear. And then all of a sudden your home's just not so healthy anymore. So this is what we're going to dive into. Yesterday I got a call from, or actually I went and visited him I got a call a couple days ago from a couple doctors, a chiropractic in San Diego. And Dr. Emily was who I met with at their new facility. They're getting a new facility in Poway, California, which is my old stomping grounds. I think they live in Rancho Bernardo area. And we used to call that, when I work with the baseball players, they called it RBI, because Rancho Bernardo High School produced some hotshot baseball players, and they'd always get runs batted in every time. But anyhow, these two docs, they absolutely loved their new space that they had found for their business. And they wanted to test it because there was a transformer in their facility. And they're going, what do I do? Do I adjust people all day with this transformer right in the center of our office space? And so I took the call and I said, hey, it doesn't sound great, but I'm going to have to meter it. So all these meters, and you get meters to meter the different levels of stressors. And so yesterday afternoon, I went out to their office. And what I found was, it felt good walking in it. It wasn't too bad, other than the lighting was really bad. And then when I plugged in the Stutzer electric meter, the dirty electricity wasn't bad at all. It was really well wired. And that also tells me the health of the transformer. So if the transformer isn't wired properly, there's going to be static in the lines as well. So it was a healthy wired transformer that showed in the wiring of the property. One of the sides of the walls was better than the other. So I said, hey, get your electrician to re-ground these outlets because this side wasn't wired as good as the other side. And then what we had him do is then I said, hey, I tested the milligauss levels. And the office right where the transformer was high. It was about 7 milligauss. And you go in the room where the transformer was, it was really high. You know, they're upwards of 60. Yeah, and so that's typical of a transformer. So, and it should be 1 or below to what bioinitiative.org considers safe levels. So, you guys, that was alarming. But what we did is we said, hey, I said, why don't you go ahead and do some EMF paint, EMF blocking paint on 2 of the walls. So the ones that go into the practice clinics, and then the other 2 kind of diverted them out the other direction where no one really was or spent a lot of time. And I measured right behind it, and it wasn't bad either over there. So the tint, or the blocking paint, I should say, was really, it's a great idea when you don't want 7 milligauss next to you all the time when you're treating patients. And then the offices that were further away were a lot healthier. So that would be good to have people in those offices more than the other. But with the tint or the blocking paint on it, it's not going to matter because it'll drop that signal down to really virtually nothing. The stuff works really well. Tint or paint or curtains, they work really well in those types of situations. And then obviously she purchased just a ton of grounding bags that they're going to use in their home and then resell as well to their patients that have already wanted them, requesting them. So that was really cool. We got to jump in and show her that this new office space that had electricity in it, a pretty significant source right there, could actually be safe and it was usable. And that was the one thing, you gotta check the health of these wirings. Just because it's electricity doesn't mean it's bad. There's a lot of good that we can get out of it, and it can be grounded out properly. That can make it work even better for you. But then the main thing is even when it is lower level and grounded properly, you wanna work on that, on the coherence in that, because there's still a vibration. From Dr. Martin Paul's work, we know that the voltage-gated calcium channels break down. So even with low-level electricity, there's a vibration, and that vibration affects us. But it's just a longer-term process. You see health effects over decades, not over 1 decade. That's really the difference. And our bodies can really adjust it, and our bodies won't take on as much voltage when it's that low. It's more of a subtle vibration that affects us. So that's really what the message was at our office. So she was so happy. Now she can sign the lease. They're going to do, it's a long-term lease, 8-10 years or so. They're going to be committed at this location. It's a great location and room to grow, thriving. She'll have a thriving chiropractic clinic with her husband in Costa Mesa. So that was great to show them that. So just simple meters, everyone, will show you how healthy your space is in your office. And then the wireless wasn't a stress there, except the AC and heating unit, that was wireless, kind of like the Nest. So I went in, I showed her where to go on the device, went down to settings and then Wi-Fi, and you had to enter a code. But sorry about that. So she could actually turn the Wi-Fi off. And when you turn the Wi-Fi off, it's amazing. And it just ends up being so great because you can still use the the deal, but you just don't use it from your phone. No one turns their AC on in an office from their phone. When you get there, you turn it on and it warms up. But they're making these things, they call them smart devices, because they're always waiting for you to communicate wirelessly to them. But you can turn that device off. You can turn that broadcasting off on a lot of these. So that's what we had her do, and I showed her how she could do that. So then her office ends up being a really healthy space to be in, because she's going to reground the outlets that needed it. She's going to put the EMF paint on the wall where it needs it. And then she's going to actually have the grounding bags throughout the office, and then maybe they're going to hardwire the internet in the different offices. I'm not sure yet, but that's basically it. It's super simple. So you don't need these things going like this. Like for mine, I'll show you this right now. When you go into any computer, so this is a USB adapter, and when you get a router and then you have an adapter switch, and then you can do, this is my Ethernet cord. It plugs into this adapter, and then that plugs directly into my computer. So I don't have to have wireless signals on me, really, at all. So even with my phone, I don't have to have it. I mean, we're live right now. I could get an adapter that could hardwire it in, but I like to have more battery charging. And then I have the grounding bags right here that help create the coherence. So when I'm on, it's not a challenge. Not a challenge at all. So this is huge for it. So that's how you look at hardwiring these offices. Now let's go to her home. I want to talk about her home. She had a really beautiful home up in the hills, and they have 2 kids, young kids, and so she shows up in a Tesla, and I'm like, oh no, here we go again. And so the electric car thing, and she was very intuitive, and so she said, I'm wondering about my car, number one, when I'm charging my car, and then some of the different walls, like the head of the bed of her daughter, and it was really polarizing. And so she knew something was up with that. And then there was one wall in her kitchen she knew wasn't healthy. I mean, that's why chiropractors are chiropractors, because their intuition is like off the charts good. And so it was no different with her. So Dr. Dawn had this incredible intuition. And we validated it through the meters. So what I did is I went in and I just used a Stetzer electric meter. And you could get them at StetzerElectric.com. They're about $150. I'm sure they sell them on Amazon, wherever you want to get it. But they test the amps to volts. So they check the level of static in your line. So if there's static in your line, it'll show it. And if it's a dim switch and it's giving you the level of lighting you're requesting, that will show static. If it's a bad wiring outside, if it's a transformer that has bad wiring, it's cross wiring. If it's literally LED lights with transformers in them, and these brand new smart homes that they're saying, hey, everyone get these great LED lights and get rid of the incandescents. No, you don't want to do that, because they have transformers in them. What they do is they kick off lots of static, and then the dim switches on the lights, as well, will do the static for you in the line. And that static is a waveform about 4,000 to 100,000 waves per second. So it's just a really medium level, disturbing static in the line. And it's been known to cause cancer clusters in schools and different areas when you have dirty electricity. So that was the first thing I checked. And she's like, Justin, I have solar in my house. So we have a Tesla and solar. And I'm going, okay, this house has to be off the charts for dirty electricity, because every home I've metered does. But what I found is her house was new, and the electrician was fantastic, and he grounded everything out. Her GS units were pretty much under 100, which is right where they should be throughout most of the house. Maybe jumped up to 150, which is still safe. That's what my house is at. And I have a transformer in the front yard of our house. So wasn't that bad. And I kept going to every outlet, 2-story house, big house, probably, 4,000 square foot house. And so we're going into all the rooms, testing, clean. And then she goes to one wall. That was really high, so the wall wasn't wired. It was with a different electrician. A couple walls weren't wired great, but overall, really healthy. So then what we did is I said, she's like, well, what about when my Tesla's charged in? I have this feeling that my daughter's, her head of her bed's on the same wall, even though it's at the other end of the house. I'm wondering about my daughter when she sleeps, because her daughter was having some health challenges. And so I said, well, pull your car in the garage and charge it. So she goes in and plugs it in, and she didn't charge it. She plugged it in, but she has the charging thing when she could charge it remotely on her phone. So she comes in her daughter's room with me, and I said, here's the meter. And she goes, I'm going to turn on remotely. So the second she turns it on, the thing spikes from 150, basically GS units, Gram-Stetzer units, the amps to volts. That was the amount of static in the line. And it goes up to 650. Instantly, the second she started charging. So what that means is that when you have an electric car, and even if you have a healthy home that's wired properly, the surge in the amount of electricity used for that massive battery gets distributed throughout the house, and it basically nullifies the proper wiring that electrician did and shows in as high dirty electricity. That's basically what the meters were telling us. So I said, well, this is great news, because now you know not to charge your car when your daughter's in a room sleeping. And now you know, and we tested her, I do muscle testing, so I tested her with her car and then with the grounding bags. And I'll get to the grounding bags in a second. I saw a question pop up. But that's our EMF Rocks product that we sell through humangarage.net and then on emfrocks.com. That creates that coherence. They're hand-mined crystals. So you put a bunch of them in your car or in the home, on your bed, and then it basically cancels out the vibration effect. It nullifies it. So you have that balance in your environment. And anyhow, so she's gonna get rid of her car. She's at the end of it anyway, so she's not gonna get an electric car again. Yay, thank you. I'm so over. So last Friday, I think I did the electric car lies that we talked about, all that bad in the electric cars. And anyone has any questions on it, go to the last Human Garage with me and we talk about it. And that was a big topic, because sitting on a massive battery causes 18% lower testosterone. So you're getting hormone disruption from the massive battery and the vibration that it causes and the close proximity to it, and so much more. But the charging fact of it too, and she basically is blowing out all of her electricity in the house with that thing. So they're going to get a new one, a new car, combustion engine, get rid of the Tesla. So we kind of solved that challenge with her daughter. I also did, full disclosure, I treat concussions, and her daughter had a car accident, and but it was several years ago, but was having concussion symptoms. And so the mom starts telling me the story. I said, well, why don't I treat her for a concussion? So I treated her for a concussion with what I do, and then I added some of the fascial maneuvers in and showed them a few as well. And so I look forward to sharing how the daughter's doing, if she's having any other symptoms or how she progressed. But she held really well when I was there. It was a couple hours with them. and no challenges. But the treatment went really well because when someone has an accident, they don't know what's level and what's center. And so I reconnected that pathway for them. So her daughter should be feeling a lot better. And now we got the big stressor out of her when she's sleeping. And then we're going to get the stressor away from her when they're driving. And because the big question is what is your environment? What does your environment look like? And so that's what we did. We just kind of check in her environment. And if it's all electricity, we know it's not enhancing. So that was step one of the house, which is really cool. So we did the dirty electricity, checked that out, and showed her where she needed to rewire, and then how to not use, or when to and when not to use her charging station for her Tesla in the house. And the big thing too is she didn't have a huge battery from the solar on her home. Her solar was wired through the electrical grid. Because remember, when you get solar, they can have you store the electricity or they can store it for you. And so she asked them to store it for them. So her home was really healthy from the solar. Like, I didn't see any static in the line. And I think it was because she didn't have a big Tesla battery, on the side of her home that was storing the amount of usage she was requesting. And their transformer was across the street, so it was a far enough distance away. And then transformers were healthy. Her house was wired really healthy. So everything was super clean all the way through. Now, that was great news. So we now know that the dirty electricity in the home is healthy. Now, it can change. So these substations, these junctions and such, rats can go in and eat the lines coming to and from your house or in the junction, and all of a sudden you get dirty electricity. And that's where you'll see the flickering of the lights in your home, the lighting going on and off, or sparking in a line. And that's when you want to call the electric company and say, hey, this is a fire hazard. And so I did that with my house. So when we had the transformer, it read really high dirty electricity. I'm like, man, I'm buying this home. It's beautiful. I said, I'm doing it, but we're going to clean this stuff up. And I literally cried wolf to SDG&E for like multiple calls. I basically said that there was a fire hazard. And I said that every time it rained, I'm like, this is the trick. When it rained, I said that there was a fire. There was sparking. And I said, our lights were flickering. I said, I saw a spark. I said, I'm worried about a fire hazard. And we live in Laguna Beach in a neighborhood that has had close fires close to it. So they were like on it. They came out, and they kept coming out every time I called. And then finally one of the guys was like, oh, one of the parts in here needs to get fixed. And so it took like the third guy to see and go underground to see what was going on with the transformer. And I just told him, like, hey, this is a fire hazard. I go, there's some sparking. I go, everything's going on and off. You got to fix it. You got to look further. You got to dive deeper. And I knew that because of the Stetzer electric meter. If the meter didn't show me that it was dirty, I wouldn't have been able to cry wolf and have this guy come out. And again and again and again. And so I called the emergency line, like literally, if there's an emergency, call that one. I called that one every single time. And that's what finally got them. They brought a service truck out, they rewired it. Now my dirty electricity in the house for my family is about 150, which is great, which is a healthy home. It's actually healthier than my last house, which was in the 300. So that is fantastic. I'm really happy about that. But that's what you have to do, is to see the healthier homes. You can use these meters to see, and you could see through the walls then with this stuff, because that's what it's doing. It's measuring the speed of a wave form. Waveforms. Everything has a resonance. Everything travels in waveforms. All electricity are one directional waveforms. If you're having an alternating current coming into an area, the signals have to meet. If they don't meet, you're going to have static. That static is called dirty electricity. And yes, that is a fire hazard as well. So I wasn't making it up. I was preempting what could happen really, potentially in the future. I don't sell the meters myself. You can buy them, a Cornet meter, a tri-field meter, a safe living technology meter, a one-directional Wi-Fi meter, all on the internet. Just punch it in, all on Amazon. They're a couple $100 up to $450. The Stetzer electric meter to meter the dirty electricity is a plug-in. You could get it at StetzerElectric.com, or I think on Amazon as well. So that's the dirty electricity portion. So then my next question is what does the milligauss look like? The electricity and the magnetic resonance. What's that vibration at? And so you get a milligauss meter. So I have multiple, but the one I used is great because you press on it and it'll just tell you the levels. And 1 or below is safe on this meter. Again, from bioinitiative.org, and you could look at all their studies. They've done thousands of studies from over 40 countries and over several hundred scientists seeing about the effects of non-native waveforms. And they all came to the same conclusion. They've written thousands of studies on it and continue to, and you can find it all on there. But the milligauss, even though the milligauss is measured in 50 to 60 waves per second, or hertz, and then when we're sleeping, remember we're 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second, right? That's the brainwave state when we're sleeping. And then our athletes for athleticism.com are, when they're in the flow state and they can't miss, they're in the alpha brainwave state typically, which is 8 to 13 hertz or waves per second. And then so you have different band waves from there. You have on higher up, and gamma, and different levels of gamma is really where Gary's at a lot of times, which is a really ultra super conscious state too. So we rev really low and slow and one with the earth and their resonance. And that's absolutely fantastic. And so that's what, when we have a low milligauss, it's really important, 1 or below 1. And that's what shows it. So we went through the whole house, and I combed the meter over the beds, and the head of the bed to the foot of the bed, down the spine of the bed. So I test to see if there's ley lines or anything's disrupting of milligauss or different power source of vectors, all around them. And so they had a really healthy home for milligauss. And then we go into the wireless spectrum portion. That was a little different. The wireless was more, obviously, when you have a router that's in your living room, it's going to be zapping the entire living room. So they had it on their bookshelf. It was just literally in plain sight. And I said, hey, Dr. Don, these are one-directional waveforms broadcasting right at you. So what I did is similar to what I did at Human Garage's headquarters. Is I put one of our Faraday bags, sorry, the windows, I use natural light, and so it gives a reflection from the window. But I put one of the Faraday bags, leaned it against the router, let's say this was a router, and then the signal strength from the Wi-Fi router dropped in half. So it went from 650 average to 325, something like that. So, and then there were pulsing, there were spikes on it too. So, but the average dropped into the 300 range, which is way more manageable for us than into the higher ranges. So with my acoustometer, that's great. So that was fantastic. And the meters out, I think, at 1800 microwatts per meter squared, which converts, that into billions of waves per second. So it meters out maybe at 3 or 4 billion waves per second. And when we point it right out the router, it meters out. And then with the bag on it, and then sitting 20 feet away from it, it dropped it to safe levels. They're not safe levels, but really a lot lower levels. And I said, hey, Dr. Don, why don't you move this, off your bookshelf and move it into your laundry room and then put it inside of there and then lean a Faraday bag against it. So it directs it off into the yard area where no one is, that side yard. And so that's what she's going to do. She's going to move her Wi-Fi router now. So little subtle things on when you're metering a home. If you have solar, you're not off the grid because you run it through the electrical company, but definitely avoid having a massive battery, a Tesla battery on your house, and that'll make the home healthier. Make sure the wiring's healthy and grounded properly. Make sure you're not charging your Tesla at night when you're sleeping, because that's going to up the dirty electricity. And make sure you get an outlet timer. And I said, well, hey, if you want this, Wi-Fi on in your house all the time, that's fine, but put it further away and then get a timer on it, because when you're sleeping at night, you don't want that thing blasting, because it literally equates to someone tapping you on your shoulder all night long saying, hey, talk to me. And you're going, I'm trying to sleep, and it keeps pinging. Your brainwave tries to figure out what that bandwidth is that's pinging it, so you don't get into deeper restorative sleep. That's the challenge with wireless signals and cell phones charged next to your bed or any smart devices. They're always, again, broadcasting, so think they're smart because they're waiting for you to talk to it so they can respond. But if they're not broadcasting, they won't know when you talk to it. So let's cut that middleman out. Just go direct to these things, and hardwiring it, or turn the Wi-Fi off and just manually use them. Or with her, get an outlet timer. They're $9, everyone, at a hardware store. And you set the time that you want it on, and then when you're sleeping, it'll say, the shutdown hours are for. So if you go to bed at 11 and you wake up at 6, most of the time, have it turn off. We've gone to the extent in our home to have an electrician mess with our electrical panel. So I have an override switch in our house, but we have the timer on the electrical panel. So all the electricity in all of our bedrooms go off at night when we're sleeping. So from whatever time to whatever time, we've gotten our resonance in our bedrooms as low and slow and as close to nature as possible. Now, our daughter is a competitive athlete, like one of the top in the nation. And so this is really important for her health and development, okay? And not just because she's an exceptional athlete, but because of her health. We are high performers. We want all the vitality we can. When our bodies are just getting zapped and drained by an environmental stressor, it's going to chip away at our life force. So look at that, you guys. Tom Cowan said it best, Dr. Tom Cowan. He talked about if you're studying dolphins and they all get sick, you're going to say, who polluted the water? Because the water is their environment. Well, remember, our air is our environment. That's what these waves and particles travel through. So we have to, even though we don't see it and we don't think about it as much, waves, particles, nitrogen, hydrogen, all these, oxygen, all this stuff is in the air. That's the composition of this air, ether, plasma, that these waves and particles travel through. But you don't typically see air, right? You're not supposed to, unless you're in LA and it's polluted, and then you could see the air. But we don't want that. We don't want to see that. So we typically don't equate to pollution unless we can see it, right? But that's what this whole conversation is about. It's about understanding that invisible stressors don't have to be seen to be a stressor. And that's what this non-native electromagnetic radiation is for us and our family. And the younger the kids, they're not fully developed. They don't have a skull fully developed. Their blood-brain barriers aren't fully developed. They don't have the protection that someone aged 24 to 50 per se might have. And I feel once you hit 50, I think everything changes a bit and your body starts kind of going the other direction a lot of times. That's why it's so important to do these fascial maneuvers so you can keep the hydration and stuff. But the inundation, of the stressors, that's where the bodies are starting to break down for most people. 40s, 50s, it's happening earlier than before, for sure, because we have so many stressors in our life. Now, let's go back and recap. We had dirty electricity, we had milligauss, and then we were just talking about the wireless signals. So I got her to put timers on it. I got her to move the router so it's not in direct sight. I got her to charge her phones and devices out of the bedrooms at night. All wireless devices are on airplane mode or off. And again, if you can hardwire, I did a post on EMF Rocks that we can show how to hardwire any facility or office. But what you do is you buy an adapter. It has about 4 different plugins, and you get Ethernet, and then you have your USB, switch that you plug in. So you have the adapters, you have the plugins, and then you plug right into your router, not your Wi-Fi, not your modem, but your router. The modem is the one that has the signals coming out of it. The router doesn't. The router just is directing stuff. So if it's coming through a cable source, you can go direct from some other way, some other place, not right in your environment. You guys, this is so huge. This is like literally the most important information that I could share with you, because you could do the same thing with your cell phone. If you're posted up at an office and you can hardwire this, why not get the switch to hardwire your cell phone? Then you don't have wireless signals on you all day. And then you go home and you don't have wireless. I didn't have wireless the first 30 years of my life. They literally didn't have wireless. This is new. So there's technology out there to hardwire every device and be connected more than ever. Hardwiring, number 1, it's faster. It's safer security-wise. It's more reliable. And the 4th reason, it's minimal health challenges. The 4 major reasons to hardwire all your devices, okay? And yes, the cord might be ugly. We have this cord, look at this long cord. This goes about 60 feet away, to the router, and it's traveling through my office. I haven't made it look pretty in here and run it, along the walls or this or that. I have stuff taped across for my employees that go across the floor. And so you'll come in, you'll see duct tape on the floor with that cord going across. It can be not aesthetically pleasing, but it works. Let's see here. Well, I would just have your electrician do it. So it's not that tough, you guys. So someone asked if I recommend someone to do it for you. Electricians are the answer to do that stuff. And so you call your electrician and say, hey, I want to hardwire everything. I want it going through my router, not my modem. And that's where you can actually go ahead and get this stuff done. Now, you're going to spend a little more money if it's in your house and then you have, these cords coming out of your wall or something that you can attach from your computer to the wall. It's a more cord-centric lifestyle. But that's what we spent so much money on the last 20 years, is to be corded and to be hardwired. And now all the money that we spent into it, we're throwing away and saying, hey, let's just go wireless. Let's go wireless because it's so cool. And there's no cords. Well, no, that's not great for health. Hardwiring is the way to go. It's faster. My signal strength's way faster in my office since I hardwire it. I don't lose connections on all the podcasts that I do. And I'm on podcasts like multiple times a day and every day of the week on huge platforms. So I have to have the best connection, or else I'm not a great guest to have on. So this is what I feel is the best way to do. It's to hardwire everything. And that's how you do it. So for your home, you want to make sure the dirty electricity is good, make sure the milligauss is good, and then make sure your wireless stuff's turned off or mitigated or hardwired. Super simple. The other stuff is stop using electric toothbrushes. You guys, I have a toothpaste called Y-Clay toothpaste on athleticism.com. It remineralizes your teeth because it's actual minerals from the soil. It's pure montmorillonite, the purest form you could find from a sister mine that we mine for our crystals for our grounding bags. It's amazing. We meshed in a 300 mesh, put it into toothpaste. We add organic spearmint essential oil to it. The only two ingredients are the crystals and the organic essential oil. And if you want to consider water, purest water, an ingredient, that's the third one. So that's how you get your teeth healthy. It'll feel like you used one of those electric toothbrushes, but you don't have to have electricity in your mouth. You don't want that. That's going to decharge your teeth over a period of time. Okay, if you're doing a dentist once every year, not a big deal. But every day and night and just multiple times a day, no, stop that. Use the right toothpaste in your mouth. Because remember, the weak links for the body, for EMF, are the eyes, the teeth, the thymus, and your intestine areas. So get the electric devices out so you only use them sporadically. The lighting, make sure the incandescent lighting is better. So when you're going to bed, our bodies work with this circadian rhythm. And that's what our internal environment of our bodies rev with. So externally, you have basically all this the sun setting and rising, and there's a clock that our bodies internally are connected to because we're one with nature. We're one with that resonance. Remember, our fascia, it extends into our biofield, extends into the atmosphere, which is ether, plasma. That's where this communication comes from. If I close my eyes and say, hey, where's my hand in space? How do I know it's out here moving around? Well, it's because we're one with our environment. And the people, the athletes that tune into it more hydrated, more mineralized, more connected, more fascial connections throughout the body, they've heightened their levels of proprioceptors throughout their body, their skin, and they can look to the right on a Bosu ball. They can look to the left and not fall off. They can look up, look down, close their eyes, and then do all that with their eyes closed. And then they could do it on one leg. That's what fascial connections do, and you train that. It's a trained system. So that's what we want to do, is understand how this interplays with our environment and the circadian rhythm of it. So if you have a really bright white blue lights going on, which these screens emit, and my phone's on the dimmest, I could barely see myself because my screen's so low, and then I have I'm in natural light with a window right on the other side of my phone. That's my body's getting into the circadian rhythm. First thing I do when I get up in the morning, I go outside and I take the dog for a walk. So I'm looking at blue light and I'm barefoot, I'm grounded, I do my fascial maneuvers, I do my breath work, I do my morning manifestations and praying and semantics and all the good stuff, the gratitude list. You got to get your body in that rhythm. And then, of course, I jump in the water too. So I'm one of those guys that likes cold water, and early in the morning is just fine with me. I'm a surfer, so I'm in the water, and I'm recharging my body battery from the negative ionic charge of the earth. And I encourage you to do that as well. Your health, your vitality will exponentially go up. It's incredible how good you feel, the stoke your body feels from being recharged. The oxygen that's in the ocean, and that comes up from all the kelp, the fresh air. And it can be any body of water, not just an ocean. I just say ocean because that's what I have in our backyard. But just get outside into nature and pull in that resonance from it. And that's what you want to do. So that sets off the morning circadian rhythm for creating a healthy environment for me to live. And then obviously sleep in a home with shelter. And then at night, when I come home, the lights aren't fully bright and blasted. We just have lights on where we're at. And if we're eating, the lights are on in there. If it's dark, it's in there. And then when we go straight to our bedrooms, it's blue light blockers, sunglasses, and then that's it. Biohack Yourself, documentary that's coming out next year. I'll be in it. They have a brand that's great. So there's great blue light blocking glasses out there. And you guys get those because that converts that light. So if you're watching screen time, want to watch a movie, you want to just check out, you can do that. Now, I'll also do a lot of baths. And so this is the other thing with the coherence in your home. And, the coherence with the circadian rhythm is my night routine. And I told Garrett, I got to do a video in the bath, but I don't know. I don't want, that going. So, but it's really cool because when you do that, I'm doing the fascial maneuvers in the bath, and it's super hot water. I have diatomaceous earth. I have basically the magnesium, the Epsom salts in there. And then I have organic essential oils in there, campobeauty.com, C-A-M-P-O beauty.com, excuse me, is my favorite oils. You can do an immune one in the baths at night, so it kicks up your immune system as well. And you do the pures, the blends, they have blends. Do about 20 drops of the blends, 20 to 25 drops in the bath with the diatomaceous earth, with the Epsom salt, the magnesium Epsom salt, the sea salts, and then your body's hydrated, but you're doing fascia movers, you're breathing, you're taking in the nutrients, and we have water filtration, of course, so we have great water. And man, my body's just, so I get the cold water in the morning, I get the bath at night, and I'm like cooking myself in there. And I do it for a while. So my body's just, this fascia is just really learning how to ebb and flow with my environment. But when I'm done with that, I haven't really felt the need to watch movies, and decompress, because I'm already decompressing a way healthier way. So, and then we go to sleep, and then shortly after the electricity turns off, we have grounding bags. I have a lot underneath our bed, but just one underneath your bed or on your bed at the head of the bed, and that'll create the coherence, and we sleep really well. And my wife, before we had the grounding bags, she was going through menopause, and her menstrual cycle stopped for 3 months. And once we found these, the cycle returned, and the night sweats went away, and she started to sleep through the night. Now she sleeps through the night without a challenge, and so do I. And it's all because of the grounding bags creating that coherence and any extra signals that are around. So, and that her symptoms came at dirty electricity was about 325 from the Stetzer meter in our other house to 350. So even at that level, when someone's aging, we saw the aging process really unfold in a big way. Like it speeds up. You can see aging happen. That's crazy. So once we put the grounding bags in, we slowed down this aging process. Now we're doing the grounding bags with the proper wiring and proximity protocols, with the fascial maneuvers, and now our health, vitality, our daughter's health is just absolutely fantastic. That's, you guys, that's what we're looking at, is we want to see how healthy we can get our environment to feed all the good that we're doing. So, and we're all on our path. We know what we're supposed to be doing. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing, helping people. So we have, everything is synergistic. Everything's in flow. Then what happens is you get in the flow state and you have abundance coming your way, and then you can connect and manifest and create just so much better than before. And you feel great. You don't feel crappy. Because believe me, I know what it's like to feel crappy. And anyone who is feeling awful, please ping me. I will walk you through the steps to help you get out of that. And there's a lot of things that can help accelerate the fascial maneuvers. Obviously the supplements that they recommend, obviously the grounding bags, obviously understanding your environment. Next week online, you guys, next week I'm going to be chiming in with my remote mic. I will get it to work right out of the gates. And I'm going to be at CellCore conference. CellCore is a practitioner-aligned mitochondria and cellular detox brand sold through doctor clinics only. And I'll be at their conference. I'm going to have one of the execs come on and talk to us live at the conference. And I'm actually speaking at the conference as well. So, but we're going to be coming to you live from CellCore, and the conversation is going to be how EMF affects your mitochondria. And we're going to dive deep into that, and then how that in turn messes with your fascia. So really cool topic next week. Just stay tuned for it. But anyhow, this coherence. So we got the coherence with your environment. Get it low and slow. Get outside. Get grounded by nature. Even go through a walk at night. Take in the resonance and the sounds outside. Get the sounds, the light, the frequency, the vibration as low and slow as you can before you go to bed. So your nervous system isn't charged. You want to get it down regulated just so it's low and slow, so you can get into these deeper theta, delta brainwave states where you have lucid dreams and you have rapid eye movement and your hormones are replenishing, your endocrine system is working the way it's supposed to. Serotonin, melatonin, all the hormones are replenished. And that's the game we're playing. All right, so I think I've blabbed for long enough. Who wants to come on? I have not seen any requests as of yet. So, you guys, who has some questions about how to make your home a healthier home? Unless I answered all the questions, but I know that's not the case. So I have time for a quick question, if anyone. If not, then we will sign off, and we will jump on at CellCore next week. But you guys, this is a huge topic, and you want to make your home a healthy home. That's what it's all about, because it's easy. If you have a question, oh, hang on a second. Let me see if I can click on you. Yeah, go ahead and ask to come live if you want to come on and have a question. And then we can get you on. But I can't see a request until you request it on your end. There it is. Okay, here we go. Okay, I thought I had one, but I'm not sure I do. Melody, I thought I just saw you. Request again, and I'll press on it. And so there's basically a red button that comes up, which it just did. And then we have Rosa. Let's see if you're... Let's see if you can come on here with me. There we go. Hi. Can you hear me? There you are. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You're on live. You just requested it. And now you're not on live because I just removed you. So let's go on live with Riza, I believe. The name flashed so quick I couldn't read it. So let me see. Okay, hi.
Hi. How are you?
What's your name?
My name is Rizia.
Rizia, how are you? Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil, but I live in Canada.
All right.
Yeah.
And do you have a healthy home?
Actually, no. But where I am now, I'm leaving about a month. I'm moving to a new home. And I love that you said if you have any questions, how to make a healthy home. And this is the time for me before I move there to make a healthy home. So any suggestion?
Well, yeah. I mean, everything I said, but just when you buy a house, the other part that I wanted to add is to make sure that you're not directly across from a cell tower. I mean, look at the electrical uh, lines of telephone poles, look at any towers or watersheds or areas that they could potentially put towers on, because those are potential direct sources of really high levels of EMFs, actually EMRs, electromagnetic radiation.
I
So
do
other
have
than what I said today, I would look at externally outside of your house and make sure it's clean as well.
I do have a line of electrical irons passing not too far, but I don't know what is the distance from my house that's safe.
Yeah, so electrical lines, I wouldn't be too worried about them. It's the generators, that they would have, or the transporters on the poles. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want that on the other side of the head of your bed. You got to have some distance between those. So, but the wiring, most of those wirings, you just don't want to live right under them per se. But if you're adjacent to them and they're across the street, or I wouldn't worry too much of them. If you have them going right by the side of your apartment unit or home or condo, what have you, that
It's
can be a
house.
little more stressor. But other than that, not too bad of a stressor for you.
Okay. What about the walls and the Wi-Fi's, inside of the house? Like, any suggestion?
Yeah, so the Wi-Fi, again, get a outlet timer so it turns off when you're sleeping. So
Yeah.
then you can, your sleep hours, there's no Wi-Fi pinging. And then the other option is to hardwire. So if you have
Yeah.
a bigger budget, you can actually hardwire your house, and then you have no Wi-Fi, or because it goes through your modem, and then there's no Wi-Fi in your home. So those are the two options.
Yeah, I was thinking about do that actually. I have a no Wi-Fi during the day. I'm still gonna put the Wi-Fi in case I have anybody that comes and they need if you didn't want to plug, they will need it for some reason. But I want to mainly be by wire now.
Yeah,
Yeah. But on
and
my
that's the thing, is like, I mean, how often does that happen? How often do you have to have someone over for Wi-Fi, or like
no,
all that stuff? Like, it's not something that we do all the time, but to have a stressor on us all the time
yeah,
when we can hardwire it, and you could just say, hey, plug your device into this outlet right here, and then you're on, and then they're not walking around your house, and then you don't have singles going all. We got to rethink and unlearn this whole process.
yeah.
I mean, that's my whole take on it. But everyone's kind of, taking baby steps towards that process. But it's not a bad idea to have everything hardwired.
But how much the neighbor's Wi-Fi can affect you? Because I have a house that's very close to my house, in the back, in the sides, in the front. So
Yeah, good question. And the other part of that is the smart meter too. And I'll
that
do a whole nother segment on a smart meter, but you can opt out of those here in the US. I'm not sure about Canada. But But
I actually, my previous house, I did I asked them to put back the old ones, but it's what they installed, it was never the same. I still like have a feeling they kind of tricking us with that,
yeah,
to be honest.
they did on my old house. They took off my wireless one, and then there was a work order that went through, and they put it back on. And I called, and I was paying for them to come out and meter it. So I pay an extra $10 a month, and I have all the meters. So I just measured, I metered it, and the thing was screaming off the charts. And so anyhow, I called them back. I'm like, you guys, this is fraudulent. Like you're charging me something and then you're switching it on me. It's a bait and switch, and you're making money doing it. It's not cool. So they changed it back, but they're sneaky like that. So anyhow, but you can get those things. Oh,
Oh, I think I lost the connection. Hmm.
How did it live?
I don't know. There's a request I could do. That's on Instagram.
Wow.
Oh, look.